What's good, everyone? OJ here, and it's honestly time to get super excited about Xenoblade Chronicles 3 because the massive previews have been dropping all over the place for this game. And one thing that you can know, at least in all of my videos leading up to launch, there will be no massive gameplay or story spoilers or stuff that Nintendo hasn't already shown themselves. So rest assured, guys, we're going to keep this nice and clean. But now the previews have been coming out, and a lot of the questions that people had concerning Xenoblade Chronicles 3 when it comes to quality of life and also gameplay, in addition to tech and how the game is, are being addressed. And trust me, guys, this is absolutely great news. Plus, I want to talk a little bit about that pesky Xenoblade Chronicles 3 Special Edition and my experience, because a lot of you guys have been asking me about what happened with that. So we're going to go ahead and get down to what happened with me and the Xenoblade Chronicles 3 Special Edition and ordering that, and then answer some of the frequently asked questions that you guys have about that. But before we get into anything, what's good, everyone? OJ here. Welcome back to another video. Please make sure you hit that like button, subscribe if you're someone new, and click that notification bell to get my Xenoblade Chronicles 3 RPG and Nintendo news first, as we are ramping things up to the launch of Xenoblade Chronicles 3. Now let's go ahead and jump right into it here, because I've been reading a number of previews, but kind of surprisingly, not trying to throw any shade or anything, but surprisingly, Polygon's preview of Xenoblade Chronicles 3 was good, and it went over a lot of things that I already knew would be addressed and fixed, but now we actually have it with people that are playing the release build of the game, which some of these aspects also could be improved upon a day one update or patches later down the line. But it seems like everything from the beginning is more complete when it comes to the scope of Xenoblade and what you'd expect with some aspects right there at the beginning of the game, and we won't have to wait for some of those patches and updates in order for it to be addressed. So that's very good to hear. Now, in this preview, I want to highlight some things that the author did say about the game that has addressed some of the major concerns that people had. Quote, "What's immediately clear from the very beginning of Xenoblade Chronicles 3 is that this is another Xenoblade game. During my first moments roaming an ashy battlefield in the game's open world, a composite continent of large regions stitched together a la Xenoblade Chronicles, I was met by high-level monsters I would not be able to fight for dozens more hours, inundated with tutorial screens and umpteenth more notifications. I quickly found out that I could, however, turn tutorial notifications off." So some people were worried about them holding your hands too much and kind of going through and all sorts of pop-ups and notifications, kind of like Xenoblade Chronicles 2. Well, don't worry, guys. That has been addressed with this. Next up, Xenoblade Chronicles 3 includes many of the Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition's quality of life features, with simpler menu organizations, intuitive button mapping with customizable shortcuts, that is incredibly good here, and a UI so efficient it feels downright modern, all of which combines to form an experience that feels like a polished mainline Nintendo series. That all might not mean a lot to someone who hasn't played the past entries, and I'm not entirely sure if it will be enough for any newcomers who haven't spent 200 hours with the past games, but time has clearly been spent trying to make 4 submenus in your quest log, a collectopedia, 4 different map screens, and some 100-odd customizable pieces of your party look approachable. So this is something that has also been an issue in past Xenoblade games, to where they've had to patch it or come up with definitive editions to fix some of the menus and navigation and the UI. Now, they've done a fairly good job over the years. I think that Torna did a phenomenal job in streamlining things. Xenoblade Chronicles 2 had a few rough patches at the beginning, which some were addressed in patches and a lot were not. And also, Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition overhauled a lot of things from the original game, making navigation better. But to hear what they had to say here, especially from a mainstream Western site, this is actually phenomenal news. I love the fact that right there off the bat, you have intuitive button mapping, simpler menus, customizable shortcuts, and a modern UI, which I could tell from when they went into the customizations and some of the stuff that they showed off on Twitter and everything that it was going to be a lot better. But it's good to see that it's much more streamlined this time around right there from the jump. Now, they do go over a number of other things that we've already talked about when it comes to the class system and the characters in the game, the Urobudo system. This was all things that was detailed in the Nintendo Direct, or the Direct on Xenoblade Chronicles 3. So I'm not going to rehash those because I've talked about it in my own personal videos. And of course, we'll discuss more things as the game comes out, and guides and strategy and stuff like that. But for right now, everything is looking really good with, of course, the Urobudo system, with the characters, with the story and the setup and the plot. Everything just seems like it's going to be an accumulation of what Monolith Soft does best, which I have been stating for quite some time now, but it's good to see that other previews are kind of echoing what I've stated as well. Now, one thing that a lot of outsiders kind of say with Xenoblade Chronicles, and even some people that are just getting into it, will after 20, 30, 40, 50 hours, will the combat still feel fresh? Will things still work out? Well, here is what the Polygon preview had to say on that. Now, consider that there are 6 team members, each of whom you can swap between in combat, and things start to look overwhelming. While Monolith Soft has clearly taken strides to improve its tutorials, it triumphs in deploying complexity in the form of customization, which is more likely to keep combat feeling fresh 20, 40, or 60 hours in. And if you don't want to engage in all of that, you can simply auto-equip arts, gems, and equipment on your characters with the press of a single button. Now, this is something that, once again, is very important, especially for people who don't have as much time to sink into these big RPGs. I like when they have the auto-equip because you can just put something on. You'll usually pick the stuff with the best stats, and you can just continue enjoying the game. So very good that, once again, that quality of life feature and that stuff is built in from the very beginning. Now, I do want to get into some of the other aspects in this game when it comes to some of the stuff that people talked about with the HUD and kind of what's going on screen and all the stuff that's happening. And the preview talked about it here as well, saying, quote, "Having 6 characters on screen introduces other challenges though, some of which Monolith Soft is better at addressing than others. While numbers, aggro lines, and AoE effects can clutter the screen, the Switch itself is up to the task. Monolith Soft has clearly figured out how to optimize its engine for not just frame rate, but for graphic fidelity as well. There's evidently still adaptive resolution at play, and I'm not entirely sure what the pixel count is while the console is docked, but characters and UI elements possess a level of graphic fidelity only reserved for cinematics in past games." And this was one of the biggest concerns. How's the resolution going to be? What's going to be happening with there? How is the frame rate going to be and everything? And we're going to address the second part of that. But for right now, it seems like the quality of the character models and how everything is not degraded too much while docked, and things seem to run stable as well. Now, here's the second part of what he has to say when it comes to tech. Quote, "The same is true even in handheld mode. While resolution is clearly reduced, the compromises in image quality between character models, backgrounds, and particle effects are juggled successfully, creating a more balanced viewing experience. Moreover, the game almost always holds at 30 frames per second in combat, while docked or in handheld. We'll have to see how the Switch holds up when, say, fighting larger settings with more ambient particle effects against multiple foes while interlinking, but the point is that, for perhaps the first time, it feels as if Monolith Soft's scope and ambition aren't constrained. Xenoblade Chronicles 3 doesn't look like it's straddling its hardware's or its developers' limits. So this is the big thing that I know a lot of people were worried about, especially after the Nintendo Direct on Xenoblade Chronicles 3, or at least just seeing some of the clips and stuff like that. Now, I've been watching what they've been showing on Twitter, which looks like raw gameplay straight from the Nintendo Switch, and things have been running smooth even when fighting big enemies with a bunch of enemies on the screen. But more importantly, the quality of the characters and the image quality and the resolution seems to hold up quite well. Now, the thing that Monolith Soft has done in comparison, which a lot of people don't know or don't understand or don't care to know, is that Xenoblade Chronicles 2, which had some of these technical issues when it comes to frame rate and when it comes to the visual quality and everything, that was made by the sub team. That was made by around 40 to 50 staffers with some outside contracted help with art and other things like that. it was not made by the full Takahashi Team 1 that even made the original Xenoblade Chronicles or Xenoblade Chronicles X, which, you know, with Xenoblade Chronicles X, that held up very nicely, all things considered, even on the Wii U. Now with Xenoblade Chronicles 2, that game definitely was made, like I said, with a lower budget and also with less people, so therefore they didn't have as much time to optimize as they probably would have, and didn't have as many people to optimize what they were using, which was the Xenoblade Chronicles Wii U engine. Now what they've done since Xenoblade Chronicles 2, they actually optimized and was making different improvements to Xenoblade Chronicles 2 Torn of the Golden Country, which that game holds up a little bit better graphical quality and everything. And then now with Xenoblade Chronicles 3, they've been able to complete or make far further progress on that engine, to the point to where it's almost like it's a whole new thing, and it's been able to keep up with the amount of characters on screen, with the amount of particles that are going down, with everything that's happening. It's fully optimized to where they can hold that 30 frames per second and keep that image quality, whether it's in handheld or also in docked. I think that mainly that engine was built for just TV play, but now it's finally been fully optimized now for handheld play and also for docked play, with the best of what the Switch can do when it comes to the hardware power and what it has. So I love that Monolith Soft did address this, and it's awesome to see, because I felt that with Takahashi Team 1, the same big team that created, of course, the original Xenoblade Chronicles and of course Xenoblade Chronicles X, I thought that they were going to improve the performance because there's just more people working on it, and it is the next big mainline game made with multiple years in development. So it's not surprising that things are a lot better this time around. Now let's go ahead and get into the Xenoblade Chronicles 3 Special Edition and what happened with that, because I've been able to address it in live streams, but not in a video. So I was able to actually purchase the Xenoblade Chronicles 3 Special Edition through the My Nintendo website back when they had pre-orders go back up. It did take me quite some time. I was driving and I was just having like one hand and looking at, of course, driving, making sure I don't crash or anything, and the other hand was on my cell phone, and I was just basically hoping I can get in. After being in a queue for about 30 minutes or so, 45 minutes, I was able to finally get through, then start to kind of put in my information so I can get it. Now, it took me a few tries. I had to press the address button a number of times. It took another maybe 10-15 minutes from there, but I was finally able to check out, maybe a little bit less than that. I don't think it was quite up to 10 minutes, but maybe a little bit less than that. So after everything, after going through everything and putting in my address and checking all the information and everything was set, after about an hour or so, I was able to finally check out and get everything. So from when I first logged on, because I didn't log on right away to get in line when it was available, it was actually about maybe 15 to 20 minutes after the pre-orders went live on the My Nintendo website. So I thought maybe I wouldn't be able to get in, but I just had to wait in line, and then I was able to get one. So I was very fortunate, but I can understand the frustration from other people. And of course the site didn't crash, so that was really cool, because last time that I tried to get it, it completely crashed and I couldn't. So things did go a lot better this time around than last time, but it's still not ideal. But it's one of those things that wasn't really going to be changed. I felt that if Xenoblade Chronicles 3 was not delayed from its September release, then this wouldn't be happening. Because remember, guys, even if you purchase this Xenoblade Chronicles 3 Special Edition, it's coming in 2 parts no matter what. You're getting your game on or around July 29th when the game launches, and then you're getting the Special Edition contents later down the line, later in fall. So no matter what, it was going to be a 2-part type of thing, because the game was moved and those parts are not ready, and that stuff is not going to be ready until the original release date, which was supposed to be in September. And they weren't going to trust Amazon and Best Buy and all these different places to have 2 different shipments, and that's going to cost a lot more money as well, shipping it off to all these different places. So they obviously took the cost-effective manner and the less confusion manner of just having it all in one place so they can fulfill all the orders from there. Now, of course, if you're in other parts of the world like Japan and certain other parts of Australia, it was easier because there's less foot traffic, less scalpers, less issues, whereas here in the US, there's a lot more of all that, just a lot more people, and the game is going to sell a lot more here in the US. It's going to be huge here. So yeah, there was definitely some issues though. People weren't able to get it. They were having trouble checking out. So it was not perfect by any means, but it was definitely better than what we had before. So I hope that this is the last time that they do a My Nintendo exclusive special edition, or at least if they're going to do that, you know, just somehow have something to where they can move the distribution up more so they don't have to do it in 2 parts and cause that type of issue. But it is what it is. I'll take the game coming early more so over a steelbook and an art book and a big case. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm going to love those when they come in. I have all the Xenoblade Chronicles special editions, but at the same time, we're getting the game early, July 29th instead of September, and I'll definitely take that. And this is also a better spot for the game. I think it's going to do phenomenal when it launches, and I think the reviews are going to come out, and it's going to be a very highly requested game when it comes to just content creation and also live streaming, plus just people picking up the game in general. It's going to do really well, so I'm excited for that. But what are your thoughts when it comes to everything that we discussed when it comes to Xenoblade Chronicles 3 and the previews and also the special edition? Let me know in the comment section below. All right, guys, that wraps it up for this video here. Thank you so much for watching. I do appreciate it. Please make sure you hit that like button, subscribe if you're someone new, click that notification bell, and we will see you for the next video. Peace.